Thank you all, first and foremost, for attending this session. We're excited to go over all of the content we have for you, talking about mastering data-driven insights in the age of AI. What we want to cover today is a little bit about, how do we do that? How do we drive insights for our customers? Focus on the partnership we've been building over the last year between AnswerRocket and Kantar, show you a demo, and then leave you with some takeaways on how you can get started. But first off, who are these guys, right? Let's go through some introductions. My name is Joey Gasparic. I'm an enterprise account executive at AnswerRocket. I've been with the company over 6 years now, helping to drive analytics and complex analytic solutions for our global enterprise accounts. And I'm joined here by Patrick.
Hi, everyone. I'm Patrick Moriarty. I am the North American lead for analytics at Kantar. I've been in the business now. I've been at Kantar for about 2 years, but I've been in the business started my career with Coca-Cola about 20 some odd years ago, and have sort of been worked on both the sort of client side and partner side throughout, and just excited to speak with Joey and talk to you a little bit about how AnswerRocket and Kantar are partnering.
So what is AnswerRocket? We've been at this show for, I think, the past 6 years. So a lot of familiar faces in the crowd. We've been solving a lot of challenges for a lot of the customers here, companies here. But at the core of what we do, we're helping business users. So not your technical users, the business users, the category teams, the sales teams, the marketing teams, answer questions from their company's data and using AI machine learning to do this. And we've been doing it for 10 years, right? That's been at the core of what we do. We work with some of the largest brands on the planet. These are just a few here at the bottom of the screen. We'll be talking a little bit about AB InBev throughout this presentation as it relates to the partnership and some of the use cases that we'll discuss. And then Patrick, a little bit on Kantar.
Yeah, so Kantar, we aspire to be an indispensable brand partner to all of our clients, right? And with that comes the responsibility to sort of be a data provider, an insights partner, and at the end of the day, you'll be able to sort of tie that together, whether it's in category management, shopper, media, brand, and the like. Now, when you're talking about Kantar, we are about 25,000 people strong globally. Every year, we talk to at least 100 million respondents. That's not necessarily unique, but we have 100 million surveys that sort of roll through our system, covering 90 markets globally, and then over time, we've accumulated over 2 billion sort of profiles that we can leverage to support research into shoppers, category, as well as brand preferences, and of course, media behaviors.
So I don't know how many folks were in the room last year when we demoed Max AI for the first time, but a lot's changed, especially since ChatGPT was unveiled 15 months ago, and it's really just struck up this revolution across all industries related to AI and generative AI and all the buzz. And I bet if any of you checked your emails, I bet while you were just sort of piling into the room, you got a couple of other sales emails from some folks saying, hey, we're integrating with GPT or large language models. So it's so much buzz around what's going on. I'm sure you can all relate to that, right? And it's every tool that we're using is starting to integrate large language models into it. So whether you know it or not, you're probably interacting with a large language model in the background or generative AI in some aspects. And then really the shift towards customizable AI. What that means is, well, out of the box, these models do some really cool things and some really valuable things as it relates to analysis. But if I want to use it in my everyday, it needs to have these types of outputs, or it needs to speak this language, or the insights need to appear like this, right? So I need to customize it to meet just my everyday life and everyday parts of my business and how I run things. And then use case explosion, right? You're probably seeing it all over the place. Marketing, supply chain, sales teams, you name it, right? And if you're not seeing this use case explosion at the business, if you haven't gotten your hands on this in some way or another, then you're probably behind, right? Because it's taking off. And I want to focus on one thing, because it's been 15 months since ChatGPT sort of hit the stage. We've been solving this problem at AnswerRocket for 10 years. Right? It's not a new problem to us. We've been using AI machine learning to solve this problem for 10 years. And this is the problem right here. We call it the vicious cycle. If you've met with us, if you're going to meet with us, I'm sorry you're going to hear this story again, and you're going to see this slide again. I've been presenting a version of this slide for the past 6 years. And the problem still exists. Every time I show it to a new prospect or a new customer, they say, yeah, that sounds like my life. And that's where you have a lot of data. Every company has a lot of data. You're usually visualizing that data in the business by putting dashboards on top of this. Excel, pivot tables, PowerPoint, you name it, right? Probably all of those things. But then when something happens, right, especially something important, our brand power is declining in a strategic market, or we're losing volume year over year, what's going on in this channel? If you're really data savvy, you might be able to jump in and manually manipulate that data and try to get as close as you can to that answer. But a lot of times, what we see is the business team really needs help from an analyst. So they go pull that analyst in to answer that question. Now they're stuck on the vicious cycle. I'm going to pull the data manually. I'm going to crunch the numbers. I'm going to type up the story. I'm going to put it into a PowerPoint. I'm going to send it back to that business user who goes, hey, did a really good job answering my question, but now I have 10 more because you piqued my curiosity. Or they're going to say, no, you didn't even get close. That's not what I was asking. Go do it. It was this channel that you need to dig into, right? So what I hear more and more is that the business teams go, you know what? I don't even ask the question. I don't want to get stuck in this vicious cycle. So they don't. And they're smart enough to go make some educated decisions, your sales teams, your marketing teams, in the field themselves. But admittedly, they're leaving opportunities on the table because they don't have all of the answer that they could have if they would have gotten a complete answer from an analyst. So we see this all the time. The business waiting hours, days to get these answers, and it's still a big problem today. And this not a new journey for Kantar as it relates to AI as well. Why don't you mention a little bit about that?
Yeah, not at all. And I love that slide about the vicious cycle, but we want to turn it into a virtuous experience, right? If you think about it, from a Kantar perspective, we've been in this game for a while, right? If you think about the precursors to everything that we're going through right now, multivariate statistics, there once was a time when that was questioned. The value of that was actually questioned when it was delivered. So, over 40 years ago, we sort of started this journey. Now, through it, we've evolved. As new technology from a quantitative perspective has become available, we've adapted. Whether it's first automation, and then you move into sort of a supervised machine learning, and then we've released, a few sort of AI-based solutions over years. Very, very direct and simple, straightforward use cases. Now, during most of those 40 years, we've either, we've led on a few things, and we've fast followed on a few things, right? But all of a sudden, we have Gen AI. We've got the ChatGPT sort of release, 15 months ago.
Yeah.
Like, that game has changed quite a bit. And so trying to stay ahead of that game or necessarily, just being a fast follower is a little bit more ambition than we can necessarily bite off. And so it was critical to us as we look at our journey. This was the proper time to look for partners, to sort of grow through partnership. Because at the end of the day, our clients, many of you, expect speed to insight. You expect improvement in quality. You'd also like us to keep our price at least the same, if not, bring it down a little bit, right? So all of those things come to fruition as we start thinking about how do we activate AI, Gen AI in particular, to empower us and bring insights to you faster, insights you can trust, and also do things that enable you to make the decisions with data at your fingertips.
Yeah, and it's become ever more important, right? And you look at this slide here with BCG saying, almost 90% of executives say this is a top 3 priority, AI and Gen AI this year, right? So it's not, well, we've been doing it for a long time. We've both been in the space of AI for a long time and leveraging AI for a long time. All of a sudden, the market's saying, hey, this is a demand, and we have got to figure out how to harness this technology. And, by the way, there's a food fight going on because of this, right?
Right.
And you've seen this with what you've been experiencing with your clients.
Yeah, so thinking about like 90% of executives say that this is important. 100% of the people that I talk to every day say that it's important. A day does not go by in which we don't hear from a client. What is your AI agenda? How are you guys thinking about this? I know in part it's because you're getting hit with the same questions, right? Like, hey, what should we be doing in this space? What are our partners doing in this space? And so it's information gathering and trying to understand how we can leverage it. But just know, like, this is a question. It's a huge opportunity. We all know that. Whoever can get there first has potential to be heroic, deliver great value. We see all the promise and everything out there. So I think food fight is such a wonderful metaphor for what's really going on, because many organizations, you got multiple parts of the organization trying to figure this out. Now we're hopeful that as one of your partners with AnswerRocket that we can come and actually help you figure it out.
Yeah, and it's a big part because if you take these initiatives up the ladder, because of those 90% of executives that say this is an important, sort of an important initiative to them this year, you're going to run into some of these political food fights. And we've seen it in every implementation, and we're going to talk about some ways that you can sort of head this off whenever you get there and you run into some of that friction that exists in the organizations. And the friction is there, by the way, because there's massive gains to be had by unlocking the potential of this technology. McKinsey estimating, $500 billion in value for the retail and CPG industry. So obviously, everybody wants to sort of be that hero that brings this to the forefront of their organization, that finds ways to implement it, to roll it out, and to reap these benefits because there's tons of value to be had.
Absolutely.
And you're seeing some leaders sort of take the reins here. I remember the beginning of last year, I think Coca-Cola was one of the first ones that I'd seen. They signed an early agreement with OpenAI to explore these opportunities. They saw the value in that. Colgate, Nestle. So you've got these leaders who are saying, "Hey, we're gonna take the charge on this." And there's more to this list, but these were some of the early ones that we saw in the market. And it's more to just say, like, there's all these use cases, but the train is leaving the station when it comes to generative AI and being able to leverage across the business. If you're not using it, I would bet that your competitors are. And how does that relate back to what you're seeing and how you're sort of injecting AI into the journey of your customer base?
Absolutely. That is a conversation we have at Kantar ourselves, right? Not even on behalf of our clients, but like, hey, if we're not using it, what risk do we face if others are, right? And so you have nothing else that says, hey, we should be doing this. We've taken a very sort of pragmatic approach to the application of AI in general. Some might argue we could be a little bit faster in that regard, but we're getting there. But Gen AI in particular, which is, let's start looking at the use cases that we have under our control, right? Be very specific. And a lot of that is internal stuff. That's data collection, data cleansing, data management, right? Those are things that we can get a whole lot more efficient at. And that benefits us, obviously, but it also benefits our clients. So that's kind of where we started this journey, where it's like, hey, what can we do there? But then all of a sudden you get into this sort of middle area, right? That transform and analyze. Again, leveraging AI technologies makes life easier for us, no doubt. But ultimately, it should make life easier for you as well. You should be able to rely on the results, get the results quicker. We should be able to sort of, hey, if there's a need to go and interrogate the data even further, we have those capabilities available to us and work with you so that we can work a lot quicker. Put the power in the hands of the business leaders. And that's where we are today. We're ultimately, and why we've partnered with AnswerRocket, which is ultimately bringing a solution to bear that not only supports our insights agenda, but it also is something that you could potentially put in the hands of field sales within category management. Other parts of the business can benefit this as well. So when they have a question, they're getting the benefits of rich insight and deep data without necessarily having to come in with a PhD in Python, right? So everyone benefits. The more that we can take the insights in the mind of an analyst and bring that power to the fingertips of a business professional who's just trying to close a deal, at Kroger, or close a deal with a broker, or actually make sense as to, in their experience as a category captain, go in and really sort of outline, this is how we win together. All of those things are powered by insights, powered by the data, and that's sort of where we're really trying to drive to this.
Yeah, and that's where Max AI comes in, right? Because how do we enable these business teams to make these decisions? How do we take that vicious cycle slide that I showed you at the beginning, that problem that you have, and make it easy for you to get those answers in seconds and not have to make decisions without data-backed strategies anymore? And Max is a co-pilot for data analysis. When I say co-pilot, which you're going to hear a lot over the next several months, years, whatever, I think AI assistant, right? I think of someone who's there that instead of sending a message off to that analyst, I send a message to Max. It's conversational, just as I would have a conversation with that analyst. It's connected to the same data, so it's bringing back answers and insights that I can trust. It's skilled in advanced analytics, right? What that means is, well, I'm not going to answer simple questions. I can, hey, what was my power and meaningful difference salience evolution over time over the last 6 months? No, I'm going to say, why is it up? Why is it down? What's happening with my competition? Where are my threats and opportunities? These are the types of questions that take the hours, days, weeks to answer, and that are really difficult, really expensive to answer at scale, unless you have an AI assistant that can answer as many questions as you throw at it. and is a subject matter expert on what we're looking at, right? So let me show you an example of what this looks like
real
live.
quick.
Go ahead, Patrick.
One thing that I want to bring home about Max, the way that we've tried to socialize it at Kantar is to think about it as Max is a colleague. Max is not a replacement. Max is new technology. And yes, it's going to change sort of the way that we do our work. But we don't look at it as, hey, Max is going to come in and replace several analysts. We actually think Max is going to come in and enhance several analysts. And if we're really running full tilt, it may actually create the need for more analysts to sort of interact with Max to help drive needs, with clients and actually sit, side by side and say, these are the insights. This is what the market is telling us. This is what we need to go do in order to bring it to life and ultimately drive revenue or whatever else our ambitions are. But Max is a colleague, not a replacement.
Yeah, and it enables what you're really trying to do whenever you're looking at data, which is make recommendations that can drive growth and grow brands. And it goes right back into the AB InBev story where they said, we want to do brand guidance. We don't want to do brand reporting. Thanks to Max, we're able to do that, right? And it was a powerful statement that they made to us, and we'll get more into what they're looking at as well. So let me pull up a demo environment here really quickly, and I'm going to tee up what we're looking at. So this is some Kantar data. This is real Kantar data. It's called Brand Dynamics. It's one of the data sets that you all have. It's on the quick serve restaurant industry in the US. We've got it set up as if we are a brand manager at Chick-fil-A. So what I'm looking at here on this screen is you can see these 6 different boxes. These are different types of skills. And when I say skill, I mean a type of analysis that you can do, right? And the skill is going to answer questions. How are we doing? What's going on with my competition? How are things evolving over time? Any metric that I can ask about in this data set. Why is a metric up? Why is it down? What are we doing better or worse than our competition? And then what's the strength of any KPI that I'm looking at? These are examples. It's not like this is all Max can do. This is an example of a Copilot experience on this Brand Dynamics data set. So I could click on one of these boxes to sort of kick off my analysis, but what you really want to do is just have a conversation and say, how is my brand doing? And notice I didn't really put anything in here that talks about who my brand is or any metrics. I'm just asking a business question, how is my brand doing? Max is going to interpret that question, go and handle it, apply it to the right skill. In this case, it ran a current performance skill, and then produce an output for me. So there are 2 parts of a skill output. The first one are the insights themselves. These can be long, they can be short. We've got some customers who have a couple of sentences. This is just to show sort of the robust feature of automating insights on the fly. So when it runs a current performance analysis, what it's going to do is summarize what's happening, and all of this is customizable to the types of metrics that you would deem current performance or the ones that we want to track. In this case, it's demand power, price power, salience, meaningful difference. But what I want to point out is that you're not just getting what you might get on a dashboard with a single number. It's telling me, hey, for instance, the meaningful metric down here. Chick-fil-A's meaningful metrics declined by 1.1 or 0.9% since the previous month. The brand's performance remains above average with a current value of 122. It's significantly higher than the market average of 98.6. Despite the decline, their ability to consistently provide meaningful experiences to its customers sets it apart from its competitors. So, now that I'm looking at this, I can breathe easy going, all right, well, we're declining, but we're still well ahead of the market average. Now, I want to increase that score, so I want to figure out what's going on there, but these are the types of insights that you're going to get for each of these metrics. Again, these can all be customized to the way that your business speaks, the type of language you'd like to use. And then at the bottom, the second part of a skill output is the visualization. In this case, we have customers that are looking or are used to seeing this data in a table view or on a dashboard. So here we produced a table view where you see your metrics, you can see the change, the percent change year over year, how things are trending. What's the historic high, the low, the market average, and then it's classifying it as strong, weak, deteriorating, or recovering. So this is a place to start my analysis. What I see here is my demand power is down. Now in this particular data set, demand power is actually the most important metric. So if I'm losing that, then what is my next question? Why is my power down? Right? So the classic business question, why are we losing here, right? You usually follow those big red numbers. Now what Max is going to do is go, okay, Joey's asking me, why is my power down? So Max is smart enough to go pull what we call a driver analysis that then looks similar to the last output, but the context is all different. First and foremost, if I'm looking at what's driving my power, well, what metrics are driving that? Is it meaningful difference in salience, and how are those moving? Are they significant changes? Are they directional changes? Max is going to look at all of that and in seconds point it out to you. Then the next question that we hear is, all right, if I'm losing power, is someone stealing it from me? If I'm gaining it, who am I taking it from? Here it actually says, hey, breathe easy. Chick-fil-A maintains its number 2 position. McDonald's continues to dominate. They're in first. It is saying that Taco Bell ranks third and has experienced a small increase. So while they're in third, they're increasing, we're declining. Maybe that's something I want to look at. Outside of that, you can see down here, it says, hey, you should look at Popeyes. They're not in the top 5, they're not in the top 10, but they were 13th and they just rank changed to 12. So they're doing something that's pushing them up a single rank. But maybe I want to go look into what are they doing successfully that I might be able to learn from. But just like any good analyst, it's surfacing these insights automatically. And then finally, demographic trends, age, income levels, regions, anything that could tell me about the consumer and who I'm trying to target and how these marketing strategies are paying off. When we talk to our customers like AB InBev, they go, we do demographic dives sometimes, but we don't have time to do that across the board. It's impossible to do this at scale across every single brand unless you're leveraging something like AI. It does it every single time, consistently, to the best in-class way that you could do this analysis. Then the output for this skill is similar, but you see much more robust as it gets into some of the sub-metrics here, the different competitors, the different demographic sets. And what's cool about an output is this could be any visualization. It could be a custom visualization that we have, that you have. We could match it to look like what you're used to seeing. But you can interact with it. See, Taco Bell is underlined. I'm going to click on Taco Bell. And Max goes, all right, you clicked on Taco Bell. I'll go analyze the drivers of Taco Bell. Because, well, they're growing slightly. They're right behind me. Let's see what they're doing and what they're doing well or poorly, right? So now it's going to narrow down and filter down that analysis on the fly and pull back the insights just for Taco Bell. So a lot of other questions that I can ask. I'd actually encourage you to come by our booth and we could show you more about this and other things that we can do, but I'll stop here and go, Patrick, we just asked a handful of questions. We got a lot of rich insights back. We're seeing a lot of information on the screen. How does this relate to how these answers get done or get answered currently?
I mean, we just did it in a matter of minutes, but I think we could all agree, even on our best day, is maybe a one-day turnaround, right, to some of those questions. And in some cases, you get that question from left field about a competitor, like what specifically is Taco Bell doing? Or it could be another, competitor. And who hasn't been in that room when that, crazy question from left field came in? And it's one that we should know, but it's going to take some work, right? And it could be a week, right? So we're able to sort of riff through and get these insights in a matter of minutes. And one thing you might be asking is like, hey, so, what's in it? What's Kantar doing in all this? I mean, in many cases, what we're doing is we're training Max to think like an analyst, right? So we're working with our clients, working with you to figure out, hey, what do you want? What do you need? How have we presented data in the past? What has landed? What has stuck? What are things that we would do different? And using that to sort of train Max to become smarter and smarter and smarter in terms of accessing the data, using the data, and then ultimately delivering it to you or the person in your company responsible for making business decisions in a very unique way and one that actually is consistent with what they've received in the past.
Yeah, and going back to the ABI example that I've been sharing for their use case, we polled them a few weeks ago and they said, this has resulted in 40% efficiency gains. That's their words right out of their mouth. They do this brand guidance reporting every quarter. I'm sure a lot of you do when these brand guidance numbers or the brand power numbers drop. They said it's never been smoother. They have never received less questions. They didn't get any questions last quarter because they directed everyone to Max AI and it answered all of their questions as a follow-up. We then polled those business users and they were like, yeah, it's awesome. It's been a complete game changer for us. But that number, 40% efficiency gains. And that's within the first the first data drop where they were really leveraging the full solution. So obviously we've been talking about the partnership. Obviously we saw the first slide where there's tons of opportunities out there to go and partner with a lot of different people. Why did Kantar choose AnswerRocket?
I mean, at the end, when we look at it, I'll start with the first, the wow factor. I mean, we just saw it in a matter of minutes. That was real. That was this was prep for it, but that was real. Hitting the data, providing the results, putting it in the narratives, and being able to sort of coach that up. So the wow factor is actually first and foremost, not fourth on the list. I think the other thing that was very compelling to us is deep AI expertise, right? So AnswerRocket's been doing this for over a decade, right? And that's meaningful. So there's a lot of places that have started up, spun up. I'm sure they're great. But having somebody who's sort of been through the war with this and been it from a quantitative standpoint and has seen sort of had to make decisions, had to make pivots as a result of Gen AI, like that kind of partnership, that kind of partner is there's few of them out there, right? And so they understand the transformation that's going on. I think the other thing is, you know, they've got the mindset, and Kantar, we're going through our own transformation, and so they've got the mindset of, you know, quick wins. I would say win quickly. I don't, you know, others like to say fail fast. But I say win quickly, right? And occasionally you might fail fast, right? But it's this notion of sort of changing old stodgy market research company called Kantar and getting us to be more fleet of foot, more available, more engaged, being able to bring the power of our data to the forefront of your business needs. And Answer Rocket's right there with us. And then frankly, the other one is they have experience with our data. Anyone who's worked with market research data knows it has its own unique idiosyncrasies. You know, survey respondent level data. Not everyone is accustomed to working with that. Privacy concerns that come with that. We have to do weighting, right? You know, to get some of our insights correctly and to project appropriately. We have stat testing. You know, these are things that you don't necessarily see in supply chain data or whatever. Yeah, I mean, you know, there's always confidence intervals, but there are some nuances about market research data that make it, you know, not camera ready right out of the gate. And so bringing something like a solution like Answer Rocket and bringing sort of the analysis and the expertise and experience that Kantar has to sort of push this together, it means that we can deliver insights, results, again, to the business, at the speed of business, in a way that makes sense for the business.
Yeah, and one thing to mention on the domain and data understanding, it was ABI who said, hey, we need to connect these two because they're really helping us unlock this data. And I think as a great partner, you got to ABI, you leaned in, had the conversation, here we are, you know, several months later having this conversation.
Yeah, a lot of good matches start with a beer.
That's absolutely right. And we're actually located right next to the where they're setting up the beer station, so we might see plenty of you later. Now, when we talk about how to get started, right? So how do you get started with something like this? It can feel daunting. Again, I keep thinking about that slide with all the different vendors' names on it of what's going on with Gen AI. I wouldn't think about that. I wouldn't think about data. I would think about your business problem. It's easy to get sucked down to where is data and what can we do with data? But I would think about what are the business problems that we want to solve with this? And I would rank those accordingly and find the ones to prioritize. Then obviously you want to make sure you do have the data to support answering those business problems. And then the second thing you would do is you design. What sort of questions, if we could answer in seconds, would drive our business forward, would help us truly grow our brands and make a difference and make a valuable impact in the marketplace. So designing the questions that you'd want to answer, and then we build the skills that can help you answer those questions and essentially have a co-pilot then that you test with users. Now, a big part of this is finding an early adopter. You might be an early adopter. If you are, we're at booth 210. We'd love to talk to you. But you want to find someone who loves tech, right? So that's step one of who do I go and target this with. The second step is where can I go target this where it will have immediate impact that I can measure? Right? Where can I go look and see, is there ROI here? Where are we trying to grow our brand power? Where are we trying to expand our market share in a specific market? What are the strategic markets that we're looking at? That's where you go. You go there because guess what? If you do a good job with these insights and you truly do make a difference, you should see the needle move on these KPIs. So that's where you can go to test those early adopters and then also where you are in the market. Now, what are the use cases to get started with? And we probably want to go a little quicker on this one since we're coming up against time, but let's touch on that, Patrick.
Yeah, I think I've hammered home sort of one of the key things that we saw, which again is taking the power, in our case, of Kantar data, of the experience of Kantar insights, and actually being able to put that, you know, not only support, you know, sort of our clients as usual, faster, giving them the power to sort of engage, you know, at the senior level, but also to start empowering the front lines, right? You know, to put these out, you know, with regional sales folks. You know, so that, you know, whether you're visiting, you know, the GM at Kroger or, you know, a broker or you've got some other sort of business, as those tough questions come up, you're empowered to actually respond to them and actually drive collaboration and drive, you know, sort of joint business planning. And that's, I think that's one of the key unlocks is being able to bring all this rich consumer-based insight to the forefront and really help sort of, you know, drive, you know, close sales or, you know, set up schedules or, you know, get additional spacings and facings on the shelves. Those things are really powerful, right? And it brings it to bear, as opposed to having multiple games of telephone going on just to sort of, you know, solve a meeting.
Gen AI, the Gen AI train has left the station, if you will, right? It's well underway. You need to get on board, right? It's happening. So find a way to get started, and it's really easy to get started if you can find the right partners to do that. And if you are, you want to bring in an executive sponsor. You want to have a focused use case, and you want to make sure you have a good understanding of what is the ROI of using this, because you're going to need those things to win that food fight that I guarantee you is going to happen in your organization. And if you want to see big gains, you got to start now, but I would say start focused. Again, that's the second time. And in the second point, I said have a focused use case. You got to have a focused, smaller use case, quick wins, as Patrick would say, so that you can say, all right, we're going to go quick. We're talking in a matter of weeks, we're going to prove out how this works. We're going to get it into the hands of our users, and then we can scale up from there. So start small, build that momentum, and then work with a qualified, experienced partner to accelerate time to value. This one is key, because you're going to run into this as well. I see it all over the place. Well, we're going to build this. We've got an IT team. They're going to try and build something. I'll see you next year. I guarantee you we will talk next year, or you will talk to someone that sells something similar to what I do, because it's going to take a long time to build these things. We've been working at this for 10 years, again. And the other thing we see is, we're going to work with this. We've got a big firm coming in. They're going to help us build our chatbot solution. Well, that's a very expensive solution to build. We have out-of-the-box technologies that can help you build these things. There's all sorts of solutions that can help you do this. So just start with a qualified, experienced partner, someone who plays in your space. So with that, I know we might be a hair over time, and I apologize for that. Scan this QR code if you want some more information, or we're about to do the tech talks at our booth, right? So come by booth 210 in the sort of the vendor area, and we're going to be doing some demos and talking more about that, and we can answer some of your specific questions there. But I want to thank everyone for coming to the session today. It was a great turnout. And Patrick, I want to thank you for joining me on stage.
Thanks for welcoming me, and thank you all for attending and hearing us out today.
Thanks, guys.